and months to prep for this particular map. So they have no excuses. They do have the result of the last map hanging over them a little bit, but I expect them to bounce back here, and this should be a strong map for ROFL.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting us to go to Clubhouse, which of course is our third map in the series, and if we do go to Clubhouse and we look at some of the statistics for it, heavily favoring ROFLCOPTER. 3-1 record over the last few months, whereas it's a 0-2 record for Kira Esports. So I would have to say this is must-win territory now for Kira Esports. Guys?
I'm just not going to say anything until these two Muppets in the background shut up.
It's got to be professional and push past it.
Well, you know me, I'm not professional. Okay, they've quieted down. So Thatcher, Habana, they'll come through. Pretty critical in the context of Bank, a very hatch-heavy map. So with no Habana available, we're going to see the best of the best go at it with Maverick and potentially some other sources of hard breach in the Thermite and Ace department. Valk once again will see an appearance in the ban phase, so she won't be pestering players around the map with that information. And interestingly, Maestro will be taken off the board as the final defensive ban. A little bit strange in the sense that we don't see a whole lot of Maestro, but there are particular objectives. Basement is one that comes to mind where Maestro can be very, very powerful in gaining information as well as denying the plant. So I don't mind that little ban.
Yeah, and again, a reminder, both of these teams, as I think James actually touched on with ROFL, had actually played Bank in the back half of 2021, and obviously neither is Kira Esports as well, at least obviously speaking in an official setting. So there's probably going to be some surprises coming into this one, at least from these two teams respectively. I'm sure they'll probably play the pretty standard approach to Bank. But in saying that, I'm already surprised a little bit. The fact that we're going to CEO executive to start with is probably something we don't see too much of. This is a very contentious site. Honestly, I feel like a lot of the times attackers actually do pretty well on it. Generally, defenders, it can be very difficult to play on site, and that's therefore why you see a lot of the castle, the mirror, to just try and stabilize as much of site as you can. Depends, of course, where ROFL's going to attack from, whether they go for a bit more of the repel game, for example. If they do that into the mirror, into the castle, it probably won't work.
The main spanner in the works here, really, in terms of the setup for me, is that castle one and the impact that it might have. Now, they're not being used... Okay, so they are being used for the airlock cross, so that's to try and deny some of the pressure from the repel. We did see the third barricade over towards stock with footholds to make that a little bit more tricky to get into, and then utility will need to be invested to hold stock, and then the final barricade used over towards conference and that long desk position. So actually holding back quite a few powerful angles and eventually going to force some utility usage from the likes of OJ with the lifeline and maybe elsewhere. And that's also been doubled down with projectile denials, like OJ having to expend quite a bit there. It does drop one castle barricade, but the other will be left standing.
All three ADSs utilized in that position. OJ obviously having to expend that utility to at least open up that castle barricade, and it also becomes a time factor as well, committing maybe too much time on the repel. At the very least for ROFL, they do have lobby control, so they don't have to worry about, say, a defender flanking and going for an elimination on to the repellers in this instance. So it does mean OJ can kind of just quite literally hang there for a while. And these sidelines are fine, just simply being you're not going to expect them to be on site, more so off site. So just cutting off that hallway. But there's only a minute 25 seconds left. So at some point now for ROFL, it's about go time, pushing over to site, getting a little bit of vert control, but for the most part, what's the goal here? Where are you pushing from?
Cool. Information over towards open area. Brody looks to play off that yellow ping, and Weddable is looking to pinch as well. Nice opening pick. That's Death and Mar off the board. One particular player on the side of Kira that was the thorn in the side of ROFL's attacks, particularly late round, where he was being allowed to go for very influential flanks. So that's a great little pick there for ROFL. It gives them the man advantage. It prevents a flank later in this round and sets them up nicely for square control.
And well played by ROFL. And even for Kira, I mean, as you pointed out, it was successful for them on Oregon to have Death Amar flanking late round at times. It was Very successful. Just doesn't work out this round. And Boyd finds a cheeky elimination with the nade onto Slayer. And just like that, with 30 seconds left, it's actually a two-man advantage now for ROFLCOPTER. They've been able to, I guess, open up this site by just finding eliminations, the vert control and the buck with the skeleton key obviously getting to work. Envy, though, is a player to keep an eye on, but as he does find the elimination onto Hotshot, loses his life very quickly. Doctor then gets one back onto Kaken. Unfortunately, he loses his life as well, and it's just trades galore. Rhymes with Buck, the last one alive. 5 seconds left, but he can't really move. He can't deny OJ from getting this plant down. He does have Boydie watching as well, and as Rhymes pushes forward, he has little to no information. And as soon as that plant goes down, there's a player outside of the rappel. There's nothing that Rhymes can do to win it from here.
Yeah, forced to go for the vault. That's going to take time, and also needs to find the second onto Boydie. Oh, that's an awkward vault through the breach. Boydie capitalizes to find that kill, and it's a methodical start for the attack. ROFL finding multiple picks in the safety of the vert control, and that's a solid comeback from what was a devastating conclusion to map 1.
Yeah, and I think in a 1v1 we've seen in the past, you can probably do that vault. I remember that one game, guys, we saw all 3 players vault out at once and then ran all the way back up to get the defuse. They had enough time. It is possible. But in a 1 versus 2, when you got one player outside, one player inside, as long as they don't misplay it, it's very, very difficult for the defending team to obviously retake in that situation. Good start for ROFLCOPTER. Of course, this is their map pick. There are going to be expectations on them to do well here on Bank. But as we've already alluded to many times, neither team really showing Bank at the end of last year, once it came back into the map pool. We do go back to CEO Executive, and again, I'm a little perplexed as to why. I mean, I guess for reference, guys, we tend to see, say, Locker CCTV. I mean, even Open Area Staff Room has been a popular choice among the APAC teams, obviously since Bank has come back in. I would almost say in terms of that 1-2, it's kind of like Lockers and then Open Area, then CEO Executive. And yet we're seeing Kira really going in on this CEO Executive defense.
Yeah, I almost get the impression that they have a fundamental strategic belief that if they lose a site and they think that they can make an iteration to improve upon it and actually win it, they're not willing to be shy, and they'll reattempt it. We saw that on the last map, so I don't think this is necessarily a map exclusive thing to Oregon and or Bank. It so far seems to be a pretty global position that they take. Oh no, Death Amar again. Once more over towards Open Area, taken down for free, no trade. Wettables, a sharp shot there. Over towards Printer. And once again, ROFL with a very, very good start.
And when we think back to Oregon, it was similar to this actually in the first 3 rounds, where ROFLCOPTER were obviously doing very well. The difference being they were on the defense, but they were getting the opening picks. They were the ones setting the tempo. Kira really couldn't quite get the ball rolling. Of course, then we had that technical break, and then Kira came out from that much, much better. And hopefully for Kira's sake, they don't really allow this to transpire once again now here on Bank, where, you know, they start slow, they let ROFL get these picks. We know what Kira's capable of. It's just a matter of implementing it a little bit earlier. Full credit, though, so far to ROFL. They've looked really, really good here on Bank. Obviously, attack Bank. Generally, you kind of back in the attackers. I'd probably, right now, put this maybe kind of like a 3-3-1/2 scenario, even more than 4-2. It's just simply because we don't have a whole lot of information to go off with these two teams. But it's a good start so far for ROFL after losing out on Oregon. They will, of course, be wanting to bounce back. So these first couple of rounds, they'll be giving it everything.
Utility a little bit more efficient here over towards those castle barricades, and OJ able to drop both this time. I don't know if that mirror window has been popped. Yes, it has. So that's a strong start. Again, just rolling on from that first pick for ROFLCOPTER. Kira need to find something back. They need to desperately cross something back. At the disadvantage like this, it's going to be tricky, but they need to try to manipulate a play. Unfortunately, though, Envy will be dropped, and that's just only adding to the frustration here for Kira.
I wonder if that was a foot that was just sticking out for OJ to pop off. Obviously down, but not out.
There we go. There we go.
Hello from Doctor. Now that is how you can sort of bring things back. Then Rhymes goes for the revive as well onto Envy. Rhymes, though, losing his life. Boydie, half health, almost got another one. Interesting Nitrosol from Doctor, and Boydie does finish off Slayer. Nitrosol does not find anything over towards Long Desk. 30 seconds left in the round. Of course, Envy's down, so it's a 1 versus 3. And Doctor over towards Elevator. At this point, we'll have to play for a retake, but he just peeks at the wrong time. Wettables was there, coming down the corridor. And he knew that he was in Elevator. At the very least, if he didn't have info, just pretty good game sense. Good start, though, for ROFLCOPTER.
Well, Doctor did pull off a play. And as I said, Kira needed to attempt something to bring it back, and it almost felt like it would be enough, but then unfortunately for Kira, Boydie looking super sharp, who has for the most part been pretty quiet, at least by some of his standards. There's been a few occasions in 2021 where Boydie has popped off. He's been at the top of the stats. He's been what we've been talking about. Has also had his fair occasions where he's been quiet, but that's a good start for him. Almost narrowly got that 3K, but it was Wettables to start and close out the round, and now Kira finally feeling the pressure up above will instead rotate back down below. And this is going to be a test of their attrition, right? Basement is probably, even currently, in my opinion, one of the most unique sites. And that's also in the sense that it gets played out almost identically every time, and it comes down to that plant denial. Now, there are different ways in which it can play out, but with these particular bans, I'm not expecting it to stray too far away from a default server take. Again, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, and it does look like ROFL are bringing the 0 to facilitate some sort of roam clear perhaps, so might not play out that clear cut, but I'm excited to see if Kiro can actually weather the storm early this round, not give away any picks, and then when it gets tight in the last 30 seconds, hold off that plant with the amount of denial that they have on offer.
I just wonder, is this going to be a case where in a couple of rounds from now, or some point in the second half, you look back and think, why did Kira go to CEO executive twice to start this map? Is that something that's going to come back and bite them? Especially if they win out here in the third round, locked with CCTV. That's when you just kind of ask that question a little bit. It remains to be seen. Might not be a site-specific issue. It might actually end up being a map-specific issue, depending on how things sort of play out from here. The biggest thing for them is probably not having Death Amar go out early. This time, though, he wins this exchange against Wettable. He'll get a second. He won't get the elimination, but he puts Kaken on his back. Pretty decent start. He does lose his life, though, and obviously for ROFLCOPTER, it'll take them a bit of time, but they'll get Kaken back up.
Yeah, it seems pretty clear at this point that Death Amar's job is to just be the certified harasser. He has just been given free reign to run wherever he wants, wherever he pleases, to try and find these entries. And not a bad round there. Gets a kill, gets it down, wastes a little bit of time. Kaken now needs to be very cautious for the remainder of the round. Also means that, particularly if they are forced into a plant situation, he's going to be extremely vulnerable to any stray nitro cells or gas canisters. He will only be able to take, I think, a single tick from a gas. So, very unfortunate for Kaken. He'll need to be very, very conservative. OJ positions himself over towards main stairs, and based on where that diffuser is near square, anticipating a server take here from ROFL, and with a minute 20, that's not terrible, but they need to expedite things a little bit. You want, at least in my opinion, from the start of the first attempt, a minute. Yep. So they've got about 10 seconds to that. They're now in the face of a butchered wall, but OJ should be able to deal with that, and does. And now they need to start going. Start attempting some of these plants. You've still got to draw out 3 nitro cells and 3 gas canisters. I don't know if a minute is even going to be long enough. I don't think it will.
Envy throws out the first gas babe, and yeah, as you mentioned, not only 2 more of those to deal with, but also 3 nitro cells. So this is where I think really flanking in from Lobby Hatch side and trying to pinch Kira Esports is going to have to be the best play for ROFL, rather than a one-dimensional server take. Try and see if you can catch Kira from both sides and really force that fight, rather than let it become a utility game. 30 seconds left, still 2 more gas babes left for Envy. Hotshot actually faking the plant. He might actually be able to stick this. Envy needs to throw out these gas babes. It hasn't quite, well, the Nitro Cell gets him anyway. Doctor falls, 20 seconds left, 3 versus 3. Rhymes with Buck up close. OJ now on site, no more gas babes. And OJ will have to stick this, he cannot get off of it. They lose Kaken, they lose Boydie. OJ gets the plant, but he loses all of his teammates for it. Over towards blue stairs, and now he has to defend.
Hatch not open, over towards square. Needs to rely on sight, but it's being held down below.
Oh, the timing.
OJ, though, the timing is absolutely spot on. He swings wide by Envy and Slayer in a single spray. Great composure there in the post.
Neither of them looking at the hatch, not one. it's a rough one, because in the heat of the moment, obviously you're going to be looking towards server. Obviously, I think they would have expecting him to be around blue stairs and then peeking from blue stairs to watch that. Such a smart play. Rotate to the hatch, and obviously Kira have missed it. 3-0 start once again. Just like Oregon, ROFL take the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, solid. And I don't know if you would agree, but I think it's probably fair to say that in comparison to the first map, where it felt like Kira were more so losing rounds and playing quite badly, this more so feels like ROFL are genuinely outclassing their opponents. That last round was a pretty good example with, for the most part, Kira, they were denying plants, but then ROFL, much like we saw again on that first map, they flipped that switch and committed to flushing out players and causing disruption. And then, of course, in the post, OJ super duper composed, now going 5-1, and yeah, probably couldn't really ask for a much better start. Once again, Kiro are going to reattempt a site that they did just lose. I don't know what the game plan is for them from here, right? Do you, for example, send Death Amar on another Death Wish, right? Try and find a couple of picks and hope that maybe you get a hard breach. Or do you,
I think you stop with that.
Do you double down on side and play plant denial? I mean, they've brought less nitro cells than they did last round. Instead, now going towards the double projectile denial. So I don't know if they felt that nades were a big hindrance in that last particular defense. I don't think we particularly saw them have a huge impact, but maybe clearing some utility that we didn't see.
I think the biggest thing right now, it has been obviously Death Amar's talking point. Talented player, did some really, really good things on Oregon late round, yet you're losing him within the first minute. He hasn't really been able to have an impact. Obviously did find an elimination at the start of that 3rd round. But again, as I mentioned, it happens again. He goes down to Wettables.
When was that though?
Well, it doesn't really matter because, yeah, it's a square. I'm assuming it was square because that's where Wettables is firstly, and that's where I think Death Amar has been kind of creeping up in the last couple of rounds. Whether he finds that first elimination or not, I think at minimum, like obviously the goal is probably to get 1 and then make it a 4v5, go back to site. But what we've seen now for 4 rounds is Death Amar not really being able to ever get that advantage for Kira. It's either 3 out of 4 times he's died for nothing, and then the other time it was just a 1-for-1. They need to really just rein this in a little bit. I think it's time to pull this plan and bring Death Amar down below and just go for a 5-man turtle on lockers.
Yeah, and again, basement is a little bit unique in the sense that once you lose that opening pick, there's almost no reason really, unless something unprecedented happens, for ROFL to go for anything other than a default plant. Now, there is maybe the asterisk mark if they went for it last round.
What is this?
Envy?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, this is a capitulation here. This is when you are trying to... What's it? The sunk cost fallacy? Is it? In this instance, for Kira,
they're overcompensating for something.
Yeah, this is the kind of round you just don't want to ever replay. And I think that the biggest thing is for Kira, you know, they went again with that aggression through Death Amar at the start. That doesn't work out. So what do? They go with the aggression again, up the stairs, over towards elevator, knowing that, you know, obviously the attackers are going to be opening up hatches, etc., and it doesn't work out. So for 4 rounds now, Kira have not been able to really get a foothold in, and they will be calling a tactical timeout.
Yeah, finally. It should have been called after the last round, much like the first map when they had the technical. That clearly gave them the opportunity to reset their game plan and actually compose themselves and actually think for a second. Whereas it's felt like for the last 4 rounds, they've been in a little bit of autopilot mode. They're committing continually to aggressive plays off site, which aren't paying dividends, and in fact, they're actually putting them in really bad positions. And instead of potentially doubling down on that, for example, and actually having a Roma in a tradable position, they are just continually leaving Death Amar by himself, and whether or not he's misplaying these roams, it's tricky to get that read, as we haven't seen, you know, his exact POV for all of them. But no doubt the scoreboard reflecting the fact that it's just not working. And once you're at a man disadvantage, particularly that early on a round, and particularly on basement, your chances of winning the round go so far down the drain. It has to be a throw from the attack to actually win that defense. So it has been, again, a disappointing start to this map for Kira, but I mean, just dangling at a bit of hope here, if maybe you are a South Asian fan and want to see the first team from your region in APAC South. They did bring back a similar-ish deficit on that first map. It probably wasn't quite this extreme.
No, it was a 3-0.
Statistically, it wasn't. So already looking a little bit dire. But if by some possibility they win the next 2 rounds, then we just have to be careful and taper our expectations.
And obviously, full credit to ROFL. It's easy to sit back and say, oh, you know, Kira's making these mistakes, or Kira could be doing this a little bit better. But ROFL have been playing really, really well here on Bank. They obviously would have been disappointed with the result on Oregon. Kira played amazing to sort of bring that Oregon result to life, considering how far the deficit was. And so it was absolutely important for ROFL to get off to a good start here on Bank, and they have been able to achieve that. Obviously, 4-0 scoreline, attacking on Bank. It's nothing too otherworldly, right? You expect the attacking team on Bank to do well, but I think it's in the manner that they've played. They've dealt with Deathamar every single time that he's tried to be aggressive early on. They've won that battle all 4 rounds. So you're winning your battles, and you're winning your ones, and you're winning these little mini games everywhere on the map, whether it's lockers, whether it's CEO executive. ROFL haven't really put a foot wrong, and I think that's the reason why they're up 4-0. It's easy to sit back and be like, oh, you know, Kira's making these mistakes. But if ROFL put 1 foot wrong, Kira's still such a good team that they will be able to punish that and be in a position where they can then win rounds. So ROFL have been playing very well. It's a matter of keeping up this momentum now to close out this half.
Wedables again looking to enter over towards open area. Once more, he'll face Deathamar. This has been the key engagement, dictating the pace and the result, really, for a lot of these rounds. So this is critical. Who can win this one out? Deathamar now going to finally get some support. Awesome. So they're doubling down on the aggression. I don't mind to see that Invi now in tow.
Oh, no.
But Boydie finds the first, and it's Deathamar to drop no trade just as of yet. Boydie plays the pill perfectly, but Invi will eventually find that peak, find that angle. But Wedables wins out that trade. It's a 4-3.
Yeah, and I guess at the end of the day, it's easy to sit back and say, like, oh, why or how, but they obviously micro-adjusted it, as you mentioned, right? Deathamar then had Invi, so obviously Invi was amazing on Oregon, arguably the MVP of Oregon. So you get that extra frag power that even if Deathamar then dies early, Invi gets the trade onto Boydie. Unfortunately, though, then Wedables is then in a position to get the trade onto Invi, so it ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of ROFL. So all you've done is you've basically got the same result, although technically it's a little bit worse because instead of going 1-0, it's now 2-1. I don't know about you. I don't know which one you would probably want, but either one's probably pretty bad. Kagan gets a freebie onto Slayer, and it looks like this is going to be a quick bank.
This map's over. This map is over. I mean, at this point, it's just formality. If ROFLCOPTER are going to win this map, it's not going to be any worse than a 7-1, 7-2 at this point. Kira just completely thrown the towel in. It's gotten to the point now where they're playing out of desperation. And when you're playing out of desperation in a game of Siege, things are going to start going downhill pretty quickly. Unlike that first map where we did start to see a glimpse of players with at least some individual prowess popping off, we're not seeing any of that here in this next map. It has been Kira just falling apart. Maybe some overconfidence has shone through from that first map. It's difficult to get that read. I also do think ROFL played this well. They've hidden this map. They've clearly played it well. They've stratted it well. You can see how well they're playing, but Doctor, no way, manages to hit that hip fire and now actually makes this round a little bit interesting. Diffuser on the deck, and Doctor has information.
Time, though, is still on the side of ROFL in this instance, and a whole bunch of other factors. Obviously, got flashes up for Wedables, half health, OJ full health. Wedables gets it done. He's 9-2. He's insane. Love me some wet. It's a 5-0 start here on Bank.
Wet what? Wedables?
Wet tables.
Ah.
Yeah. Gonna get the old cloth out and dry them. Going into the 6th round, though, ROFLCOPTER, I think I agree with you guys. This one is looking seemingly over. Never really want to call a map too early. We've both seen instances of incredible comebacks before, and I mean, even on Oregon, you know, at a 4-1 deficit, Kira brought it back, but I think it's the manner in which Kira's losing these rounds and ROFL's winning them for that instance. It's been very, very difficult to see where the round wins are going to come from for Kira.
It's been dominant, and it's a reflection, I think, of two things. ROFL have clearly hidden and prepared for this map quite intensely. If they come out and say afterwards that they haven't, I would not believe them. I mean, there's always that possibility, but I highly doubt it. It looks like they're pretty well trained on this particular map. And second to that, Kira have let a few rounds slip, and unlike the last map, they didn't take their tactical early enough, so they didn't get a pause in the action. They didn't get to recuperate themselves, and no one has stepped up. unlike the first map where we saw the momentum shift back off the back of a couple of individual huge players, we have seen nothing even remotely close to that, and the numbers back it up. Doctor's the only player going even, and everyone else is struggling to contribute towards the team effort. So it's been quite disappointing, I think, for Kira. And whilst I still think genuinely this game's well and truly over, I think they need to continue fighting just for a bit of self-respect. There's no point giving up at this stage. You've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, we have Clubhouse after this. I know I mentioned at the start of this game the recent history, the record suggests ROFL going into that obviously will be quite happy, but I think if Clubhouse plays out to that structured approach that we saw in Oregon, that's going to favour Kira, obviously more than Bank. I think right now we're pretty clearly seeing that Kira probably just aren't quite up to being able to play a bit more of an open map like Bank against a team like ROFLCOPTER, and ROFL obviously have been so proficient so far. And the thing that I think more than anything for me is a little bit more disappointing is coming into this, it was going to be the battle of momentum, as Boydie looks to almost find this opening kill into Ryan. The momentum of Kira versus the rebound of ROFL, and it's clear as day, ROFL's rebound here on Bank has been far superior than Kira has been able to carry over any momentum. Well, I don't think they carried anything over. They're probably still in Oregon.
I think they've just carried over their hopes and dreams at this point, and the weight of an entire region on their shoulders, unfortunately, for South Asia. But the run's not over yet, and there is obviously that opportunity for Kira to start to bounce back. And Defamar, there we go. He got the opening kill.
Yep.
Took
and
him
no
6
trade,
rounds, but he did it. Nice.
That's the big one. I mean, because he obviously did find an opening kill in the 3rd round, but got traded back immediately, so it was for very little. Even in the 5th round, obviously, had that little trade exchange with Boydie, but Wedables was able to get both after that. 1.5 remaining. Kira with a 1-man advantage, though. A 5-1 scoreline is not impossible to come back from.
I think Boydie's pretty keen to try and find something back. Wedables on the third as well, desperately looking for a pick, but Envy falls into the hands of Boydie, who's very, very eager to push in. That's
Boydie's
second
feeling it
in the round. Clearly sharp, 10-2. ROFL on the edge of a flawless half. They just need to isolate a couple more picks, or Hotshot can come across and apply some pressure with that diffuser.
Boydie, the expressionless assassin at 10-2. Sometimes when he is switched on, he's up there with the best of them. I think for him, it's about being as consistent, but they don't need him to frag out like this. Wedables, Kaken, OJ, you've got some absolute fraggers on this ROFLCOPTER lineup. The fact that you've still got Boydie and Hotshot for that matter, who can frag out, they can step up when needed. 25 seconds left, and now ROFL have the advantage. From being a player down to a player up, open up the sight lines. It's Doctor who finds the elimination onto Hotshot, though. Brings it back to a 3 versus 3 into red time. Wedables, oh, got to be so careful here. Doctor waiting in electrical. Slayer goes down. There is the Kona station that has been used, and Kira Esports at full health will be able to find the final round of the half.
And that's what we've been waiting for so long. A brush of individual excellence, and it was Doctor in that occasion, catching Hotshot off guard, dropping that diffuse over towards bot square, the recovery effort, the search party for that missing case. Didn't quite hit the mark for ROFL, and that will be the only blimp on their radar for that first half. 5-1 score line. Still very tricky to see Kira come back, but there is a glimmer of hope at the end of a very, 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 very
well, defender-sided Bank, mate. That's all I'm saying. Sorry, attacker-sided. What am I saying?
If they bring this back, I feel like I want to make a bet right now, but I don't know what to make. I'll shave my head again if Kira bring this back. I'll come back tomorrow on broadcast with a shaved head if Kira win this map.
How about you just shave it all off, the beard as well? Shaved head, shaved beard, keep the stash.
I look like a wet noodle.
Let's head into this second half, though, and see if Kira Esports can respond with a proficient attack that we saw from ROFLCOPTER, who managed 5-round wins in a row before Kira were able to defend successfully. Maybe they should have gone to open area stuff a little bit earlier in the half.
Thank you, Mr. Hindsight, for that insight.
Oh, that was good from you.
Doesn't really rhyme. I thought it would have rhymed a bit better. Hindsight, insight.
Oh. No, it was good.
It's okay. By my standards, it's pretty good. Not very high. Interesting. Okay, interesting extension here coming out from Bodhi, for example, with the castle barricades. That's at least one on E. I'm assuming others potentially peppered around that open area position. Shotgun holes as well to make that entry a little bit more precarious. I don't mind what I am seeing. Doctor as well will bring out the Amari, much like Oregon, potentially looking for a quick entry and a quick roam clear, but looks like he might be heading over towards Garage, which would negate that potential strategy. A little bit tricky to get a read on what's going on. There's players everywhere. But what I do know is Kira sneaking into Garage. Very, very suspicious.
What's with the Amaru though here though? Where are we going to see this have impact?
No, nowhere. Not from here.
I do wonder if maybe they weren't expecting the Locker CCTV first round defense. It's an odd one. They did this on Oregon as well, remember, in the opening rounds of Kira's attack. They brought out the Amaru for the first 2 rounds and it was completely ineffective. Oh, is this going to be a clash? OJ and Envy. Well, there is the Amaru. Not quite grappling in for the elimination, but still the gun is quite effectual. OJ takes a bit of damage from that gas babe. That's at least a bit of a win there for Kira. Not only are they up 2 players, but that's an early gas canister used as well by Kaken. This is a perfect start to the second half.
Hot shot lurking above 0 and 5. It's been a bit of a struggle team so far, but I guess the rest of the team's been doing all the work for him. But now it's time for him to take a dip. Finds Envy, able to now back off.
Yeah, Doctor low on health needs to be careful as well. Oh, speaking of Doctor, just saw the head of Hotshot for a brief second, allowed him to keep on walking by. That would have been a Nitrocell off the board as well. Just under a minute left, and that could actually have an impact. Quite literally. Late round, if Hotshot can land that Nitrocell. And you just think, what if Doctor would have been able to maybe eliminate him just that bit earlier? Still, this is shaping up to be a successful attack for Kira, as long as they do not mess this up.
2 gas canisters from Kaken. Could that have an impact? I don't know if his deployable shield's still standing facing Garage. I don't believe it is. So his position now compromised quite a bit. You can see the spread. Hotshot red Kaken inside of that.
Oh, the Nitrocell.
B bomb side and OJ isolated over towards the elevator. Hotshot needs to go large inside of red. The nade forces him back. The second narrowly avoids that as well. But here is that Nitrocell. Will it hit the mark? Yes, it does. It goes boom. But Doctor now to sweep in. Slayer as well. Kira to take the round.
Oh, I overhyped that Nitrocell so much. That's my bad. Oh, nice little hip fire. Much better from Kira though, right? On the attack, already looking 10 times better than what we saw from them in the first half. Well executed, won a lot of those fights early on, got that 2-man advantage, and then from there, dealt with the rest of it pretty comfortably. And it wasn't your usual stock standard Locker CCTV take either, you know, sending 4 people through server. They were able to really open up the site. Really well played from Kira, and a really good start. And, you know, one thing I will say in terms of the fact that they were down 5-0, suddenly you win 2 rounds in a row, maybe you make it 5-3, and then that starts to put the pressure right back onto ROFLCOPTER.
Attackers need to locate.
I really don't want to lose my head. ROFL.
Well, I think right now, surely everyone wants to be seeing Kira win from here to make sure that tomorrow Guz comes back looking like an egg.
I thought your new hairdo or face do was bad, but I might take that crown tomorrow at this rate. Nah, not getting too concerned as of yet. That was a bit of a strange round. Obviously, the garage push was not probably too expected from ROFL, and they didn't play fantastically into it. And Kira able to manipulate the map quite nicely to get the job across the board. So we reset now. Unlike their counterparts, ROFL will now attempt a unique site, a different site. We head up above, over towards CEO. A bit more traditional setup in terms of the shield and the single reinforcement at stock. Nothing standing out as being too otherworldly. We are seeing some Echo in play now. It doesn't feel like we've seen much, if any, Echo thus far in this series, and those yokais can be quite powerful. Gain information, deny plants, all around just good. Envy, those windows, you can't look through those windows anymore. That's been a thing for a couple months now.
The Perimeter defenses.
Bomb located by
Definitely important here, though, I think, for ROFL to halt any sort of momentum. We saw what happened on Oregon once Kira was able to pick up steam. It became very, very difficult to stop. Need I remind everyone, Kira won 5 of the last 6 rounds on Oregon. So I guess you could say they have a knack for being able to bring things back.
Rhymes with a nade. Smoke to cover, or maybe burn another piece of util. Either way.
Rhymes with a nade. What rhymes with a nade? Guz's brain is working on overtime right now.
A brigade.
A brick.
A brigade of grenades.
Minute 20. Left
It's
in this
been a
8th
strange
round.
old round. What is even happening right now? It looks like Kira are desperate for lobby control, but it's pretty hard to come by. And Wedables, if not cleared, is going to, no doubt, dislodge this attack. Let's see how it plays out.
ROFL committing all of their ADSs over towards that elevated position. Boydie holding out as well over towards front desk and really reinforcing, making it very difficult for Kira. And I'm surprised they haven't tried to find really a different avenue. Wedables gets the opening elimination onto Envy. Doctor goes down. And just like that, we see a 5-3 advantage in favor of ROFLCOPTER. Now just what feels like moments away from match point. I don't know how Wedables has lost that one to Rhymes with Buck. Boydie will probably swing, find the kill anyway. Just under 30 seconds. There it is. So Rhymes goes down 4 versus 1. 20 seconds left. Slayer no health from the rappel outside. It's going to be match point here on Bank.
Solid work there from a ROFLCOPTER GG. They weather the storm from that lobby push. Well played by Wedables inside of the elevator to soak up that pressure and that utility. And equally well played by Boydie to aid his friend from that front desk position. Found one over towards Banana, then swung over towards lobby. Unfortunately, the metal bars on those stairs was the downfall of Wedables, but only a small mistake and a really strong round there from ROFL. 4 match points. I think
5.
5 match points.
It was 5 match points on Oregon.
I think that should be enough of buffer.
Oh, I thought you were referencing how many they threw away.
No.
Well, they
Just
did
making
throw away
sure
5
they-
match points on Oregon, just for referencing there.
Well, they have 4 this time.
I have 4 this time.
I'm just making sure that might not be enough, or it should be enough.
Would that be somewhat of a record if they were to throw away 4 match points here, 5 on Oregon, 9 match points in a best of 3 series?
Well, it's potential they could throw 6 in this one because of OT.
Well, yeah, obviously OT.
They win the
etc.,
first round of
but
OT and then lose.
We're just going with what they've got right now, which is 4.
No, we're not going to put the mic on them. That's not going to happen.
To be fair, they weren't in a 6-2 scoreline position on Oregon.
On their map pick.
I think it was 6. Was it 6-3? Was the scoreline? Yeah, it would have been 6-3.
5 seconds insertion.
I mean, really, if Kira win this round, then they're in the exact same predicament
Moving out to locate a bomb.
as Oregon, and we know that they're certainly capable of doing that. And they're in the attack here on Bank. I'm not willing to write them off just yet.
Okay. You do you.
Let's go, Doctor, on Matamaru.
Is that the first time we've actually caught Doctor using the grapple gadget today?
It's the first time I've seen him use it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 10-6, man. He can do what he wants at this point.
True. Very, very true.
Attacker's
Oh
bomb
no,
has
Deathmar
dropped.
He's been having a shock off.
has had an absolute shocking time
And-
on Bank.
To add on to that, I've counted, and it might be more. There's been 3 occasions where Wedables has been the person or the player to get that opening kill. In fact, looking at the numbers, it's been 5. Now 6? Was it now? Yeah, now 6, I think. Yeah, so 6 times Wedables has killed Deathmar first. That is rough.
No, it's... How many times has he killed Deathmar? It's been 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, it's actually 5, sorry. Not 6. Rounds 1, 2, 4, 8, 9.
Well,
I know that's a lot for you
in
to
8.
compute.
Well, no, it says Envy in round 8. I don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah, Wetables killed Envy in round 8.
Yeah, and I'm saying Wettables killing Deathamar.
Well, Wetables has got in the opening kill.
Bomb
But
Yeah,
located by
okay, cool.
attackers.
my apologies.
We're talking about two different stats. Let's focus on the game. Of course, a minute and a half
We've lost the
remaining.
plot on this map, just like Kira have, to be honest.
Oh, that's a little bit harsh. Gonna be difficult though. Down a player again, and this has probably been the story for them on Bank. Just consistently down a player. This entire map has basically been a 4 versus 5 for Kira Esports. And now it seems like they might just go for a bit of a server room push, which if that does eventuate, I think it's going to be disastrous for them. 3 gas canisters through Kaken. You got the nitro cell of OJ as well, the mirror in play. It's going to be very difficult for any sort of normal default push here through server room.
Well, even just getting into the default plant's going to be tough. Rhymes is tasked with trying to open up quite an awkward little breach. Now, it looks like for the most part, he's actually done a really good job in doing that cleanly, I think. Does still, I believe, need to dislodge the frame there of the mirror window that was once in its place, but either way, that's going to be tough, and look at the time, only 30 seconds left. He's not even going to be able to finish that job.
No. Still another gas babe after that one as well. 20 seconds remaining, no time, and it's just going to be a bit of a chokehold here for Kira Esports as they push through server. A couple of flashes to go for a bit of a full white push, but even then they still can't push in because of those gas babes. Hotshot and OJ have taken a lot of damage. In fact, so much so that OJ loses his life. Slayer, if he can get that plant down, suddenly some questions might be asked here. Envy's found 2 in the round. The plant does go down, but Kaken and Wettables find the eliminations the other way. Rhymes with Buck, unfortunately, in a 1 versus 3. And there's a player inside a staff room. It's Boydie. Good night. Let's go to a 3rd map.
Oh, a little bit cheeky there from ROFL, but they seal the deal on the 2nd map. We will be going the distance. It seemed inevitable that ROFL would close that out. They do it in the end. Boydie as well, 15 kills, well and truly the MVP here on Bank.
And it does mean for today, we have gone the absolute distance on the broadcast. Of course, Sengoku and Team Viper earlier went all 3 maps, and we go all 3 maps here as well.